Hi everybody, welcome to another episode.
Of being unstoppable and sovereign.
We're so grateful to have you here, grateful to be here. It is Jocelyn Medelansky
And Jan Williams.
and today we are going to, this is episode number
3.
in our language, it would be I toru.
Right.
Yeah. Awesome. So we're excited to come here. Thank you for stopping by. If you have any questions, you have any comments, you want to ask us anything under the sun, please feel free to do so. If you want to connect with Jan or myself, feel free to message us privately and we will definitely get back to you. Give us like 24 hours, but we'll get back to you because we're also busy mums. But we would love to connect with you. And so let's get into it. I just noticed that my hair's a bit lopsided.
Still looking fab. Still looking fab. And you know what? This is not about my hairstyle. This is a really important topic I'm going to be speaking on today. It's something very close to my heart. And also Jan, so we'll just get right into it, shall we? Absolutely. Yeah. So today we are going to speak into Hau Ora or health and wellbeing and what that means to us and probably a little bit about our individual journeys with that.
Yeah, awesome.
And also how our health and well-being is such an integral part of us being unstoppable and sovereign.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's the whole thing. Our intention for this podcast was always to stand by our brand and all what we share in our other domains and what we're very passionate about for ourselves personally with our clients and also just with our message and being unstoppable and sovereignty to self more so is something that we feel is really important. And so that's our intention. So if we get into it, Hau Ora is also, it's a part of the Te Wharetapa Whā model by Mason Jury. And what he speaks of in the model is that when all four walls are in or they're strong, they've got a strong foundation, and they are, what would be the right word? Working well with the person, then their Hau Ora, their health is in alignment. It is, it's good. It is basically the best in terms of what that person can have in their life. And when a person's Hau Ora is not, when their health is compromised, when they're not able to be fully functioning in whatever area, then that is because one of the four walls or the four aspects of Te Wharetapa Whā, which is the four houses, four walls of a house, basically, in layman's terms, is one of those is out of alignment or is not present and may have just come tumbling down. And once that shows a lack of strength and strong composition, then and the integrity of that wall is lost, then the whole house sort of crumbles and the foundation of the person's health crumbles as well. There is a saying that when one of your family members is sick or someone who's very close to you is sick, then the whole family is sick because they're tied up with the needs of that person and everything that comes with looking after, caring for, or being in an environment with someone who has lots of health issues or is just not, and that could lead to things like, and also include depression, anxiety. It doesn't have to be a physical ailment. It could be a mental issue as well. So the 4 wars are whānau, te wharetapa whātaha, wairua, which is spirituality, taha whānau, which is family, taha hinenaro, which is the mindset, mental well-being, and then taha, the most important,
The body.
Yeah, the body, our temple, our sacred temple. So we're going to go through, in terms of what we felt, some of the key principles or issues that, so we'll go through what we feel is important in terms of your Hau Ora, and with the intention of how to be unstoppable and be sovereign to our own healing journey. And then on the flip side of that, some of the things that could come up that may challenge that. So that's how
Yeah. So I guess with anything, it starts with self-awareness and acknowledgement that there is an issue.
Yeah.
Which
times you've been in denial.
Yeah. Nice place to live, but I know, personally, I've had family members that pretty much have just tried to live in denial and put off finding out or even acknowledging that there's a problem because they already know that there is an issue, but they just actually don't want confirmation of that.
Yes.
Which, ultimately can be a big disservice to themselves by the time they actually finally do get confirmation, whether they seek it or sometimes, they have an episode and they have no choice. They end up in, hospital or what have you, and then, have to sort of go, oh, okay, this is happening with me.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's in terms of like trauma and childhood trauma, they're so disconnected from their body, or they're not so much. There's a disconnect. There definitely is, and with that disconnect comes with the dis-ease. There's an uneasiness in there. Could be rising tension, hypertension, high blood pressure. So many things that come from that disconnect that they are just not able to understand, or they know that they don't know how to put two things together and know that that's something. I need to go to the doctors and find out about that, or have the compassion and love for themselves to honour themselves with the gift of going to the doctor. There's so many with my mum. Should I say my mum? No, it's not my mum. It's I want to say a code name. And I guess in the industry with patients, there's so many of these people who have not been able to have a voice or felt like they could ask for help, or even if they needed help, the perception that they were weak in some way and they're not resilient, not strong, to go to someone to ask for help. That's something that does come up in the field in hospitals, and people leave things not just sometimes days, weeks, or months, but years and years, sometimes decades. People don't go and see the doctor to find out about that issue, that problem that they know that they probably need to find out about. And then it's too late. It's too late to do anything when they've finally
can no longer ignore it.
They either can't ignore it, or something happens catastrophic that is irreversible, and then they have to face it and are left with the consequences of just not being able to, or not having the tools to know how to connect with their body and understand their body. So that's a big one. Acknowledgement. and awareness. It sounds nice and easy and lovely from a proper.
But it's the action required, isn't it?
Yeah,
From
and it's
that. And just action, and the courage, the vulnerability, the honesty with self, and then potentially once you have that yourself, you then have to try and communicate that to your loved ones or your friends, and some people find that very difficult.
Yeah, I know
those conversations too.
Yeah, I know with me, I was very disconnected to my body. I had an episode at work, I'm a trauma nurse, and I was working with patients, and then I had my heart went into an arrhythmia, and even though I didn't know, oh my gosh, in the moment I was like, I can't believe this is happening. I was put into a bed, I was raised to resus. All my colleagues were working on me and helping me, and in that time I was like, I can't believe this is happening. This is so not what's meant to happen. I'm meant to be looking after everyone, and now I'm letting my team down because I'm in this bed and it's embarrassing. All the things that come up with it. But if I was to be really honest, I knew why that was happening. In hindsight, I was living, and in nursing, you see so much trauma that we don't get time to talk about it. What we've seen, people with traumatic stuff, we don't get to talk about it with anyone. We just keep going. And we have to.
And adding a layer.
We don't have time to feel sorry for ourselves or
debrief about it.
Grieve over the little baby that was accidentally killed because slept with parents and all of that sort of stuff. We don't get to. It just becomes part of the job.
Yeah.
And just
you don't get to decompress.
Skin. Yeah. And in order to cope with the job and the hours and the high intensity and the pace, you just have to just get the job done.
Yeah.
And how many times have we just done that as mums? We're totally stressed out. We've had next to no sleep. We're probably dealing with issues with our children. We might go through something at school, and we've got work, and then we've got dinner, and the washing, and where do we come on that list of all those things? So for me, in that moment in hospital, I was like, really, this is happening. But really, it would happen if for years I wasn't taking care of myself.
Down here on the list.
I was where am I?
Yeah, I can't see my name.
Yeah. So all the way to Timbuktu, the list. Yeah. And so the acknowledgement for me came when I was forced to. You have no choice to deny that you have to have surgery. Yeah. So we don't want to find out like that, I don't think.
No.
We could avoid that. It's the least painful option. Prevention.
Yeah. Earlier rather than later stages of some things, generally works more in your favour.
Yeah.
And then I think from that acknowledgement, as you say, it ends up generally being a doctor's appointment, and you hopefully get some kind of diagnosis from it. And then from that, people want to know, okay, well, what can we do about it? What are my treatment options? And then, I think today especially you get a bit more of a choice depending on whatever the condition is. Do you follow the standard route of Western medicine, or are you someone that it aligns better for you to look at a more holistic, or even if you have access and it's part of who you are, an Indigenous medicine or therapy or whatever it may be.
Yeah, absolutely. So in my example, and I know you have an example that with your experience. I did the traditional or the Western medicines. That's been my whole world. Up until the nurse was reading a piece of paper. It was all the risks of me having a surgery, and the risks were could die. This is literally the piece of paper. Okay, so you could die. We could miss and ablate the wrong part of your heart and have a pacemaker for the rest of your life. Or you could blow a clot to your head or to your brain. She's like very nonchalant. And I understand it, I get it, because she's probably read that a bazillion times. But for me, it was like,
yeah.
And my body was like, get me out of here. Run.
Yeah.
And so it was at that moment I did not consent. Like I signed it, but my body was like, you're not going to have that surgery. But I felt also defeated because I didn't know, well, this is what I've known for my whole life in terms of how to heal. So what else is out there? Like I don't have another option. So this is it. But in the meantime, I had seen Oprah a couple of years before with Louise Hay, and I bought her book. Her book's still here. I've still got all the books and CDs, and in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I was able to heal myself by listening to the audios. And I just did it for I wanted to see if I had the surgery, and I just put my trust in these doctors so I could die. My daughter was 7 at the time. I wanted to make sure that I tried everything before I had the surgery. In the end, I refused surgery and lost 22 kgs. I knew that there was my weight, what I was
different
eating.
factors. Yeah.
Yeah, there were so many other things that I needed to address first. Yeah. So, that's a huge thing. So I did a bit of both. I did the Western up until I denied it, and I chose for myself what was sovereign and what has made me unstoppable in terms of I had to have surgery on my heart again. What I would like to call biohacking, just mind, body, soul approach. Did a lot of different things for my body, for my mental mindset, and then the hypnosis, meditation.
And obviously, I would say some emotional work.
Yeah, the mindset
as well too.
The mindset
was
huge. So 80% mindset, 20% mechanics. You can know all the things, but if your mindset is
this isn't going to work.
It's unhealed, or this isn't going to work. You've got underlying negative emotions and stuff that's just not going to work. So like going on a diet. It's like, and everyone knows how to lose weight. So why don't you? What to eat properly and to exercise. Why don't you? I'm talking to myself, by the way. Like, why should you do it? For me, it's just been time. I've been just busy. That's an excuse as well, but it's also true. So I acknowledge this as I'm talking to you. But the other thing is, we don't eat, exercise, so why? There's all this other emotions and limiting beliefs that are underlying that ability to that pathway to just align. So what was your experience with the Western?
I guess the biggest example is a family member that has, was diagnosed or didn't want to know, was aware that there was an issue, but didn't actually want confirmation of it, so didn't seek it for a period of time. And then the condition was that advanced that there was no other option but to have surgery if they wanted, to continue in this realm pretty much for longer than, you know, a matter of months potentially. And then just being on that learning curve of how the Western medicine approach is very much, well, our department looks after this part, and the other department looks after this part, and there's another department, you know, and we're not sure which part it is, so we're not sure who, you know, is leading the case on this or leading the charge on this one. And just seeing, you know, firsthand that disconnect between the fact that we're not just parts, we're much more than the sum of our parts, and we're not just physical parts. So we need the mind, body, soul acknowledgement. And, you know, I very much subscribe to the holistic approach in terms of, yes, I'm, you know, someone may need surgery on their heart, but what's going on in their mind in response to that? What are they, you know, what are they feeling? What are they concerned about? You know, is it just concerns for themselves? Is it concerns about their family if something doesn't go well? Or, you know, all of those things. And as you say, you know, the power of the mind in terms of what's the self-talk about that treatment option.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also, I love how you shared that, because there's a real part to play in terms of or identify what you align to and what you don't. And if you don't align, do say something.
I know for me, I've been sort of taken up that role of advocate / researcher / you know, mouthpiece, whatever has kind of needed to be done, depending on whether I was, you know, able to be there at some of those appointments. And unfortunately found that if you don't have, you know, doctor in front of your name, your opinion, you know, or what you're voicing doesn't necessarily carry much weight in their eyes, even though, you know, you have much more knowledge of that person and what they've been going through and how, you know, medicine or treatment may have affected them, impacted them. So I think it, you know, and so for me that highlights more that I become more concerned for people that don't have a family member to be their advocate, to be their spokesperson, to be their, you know, to be in their corner, because I mean, you will invariably find, you know, a doctor or a nurse that may truly get it because of their own personal experience, but they actually don't have time to be your advocate.
Yeah.
You know, you do need you need absolutely you need assistance in that. Yeah. And I guess that comes back to the awareness portion and being sovereign in yourself and trying to somehow work out how to, you know, your way through that maze. But
yeah, I feel particularly sorry for the elderly population, especially if they one, if they're isolated or self-isolated from whānau, two, if they you know, don't have whānau around.
And I think also, like I've observed with my grandmothers, for example, that I think it's that generational conditioning too. Is that, oh, well, the doctor said I need this, so I must need this, even though it's making me feel or making me do or impacting me this, but the doctor said I have to take it, so I'll keep taking it. Yeah. You know, and it's like, that you know it's not working for you because your body is reacting in a way that, you know, those sorts of things. So that's been interesting to sort of unpack as well.
Yeah. I love the I'm Not Your Guru by Tony Robbins, because he was basically, that title says it all. I'm not your guru. You're your own guru. Don't think of me as this person who knows everything about you. So don't. And when I was going through my history of many health issues, I, the specialist is you. This is what I've come to learn for myself. No one knows my body more than me, which is why I'm very strong and advocate I do not consent with the boundaries, because at the end of the day, you might have like that other title before your name, all these certificates, they don't mean anything to me because I have my own wisdom and my own internal programming or not programming, but my own internal makeup, and my body knows what's good for me, what's not. When it comes to people, places, things coming in my body, around my body, it doesn't matter what it is, my information that I have, if I align to it, my body will tell me. And if I don't, my body will tell me. So it doesn't matter what suit you're wearing, which is, I guess, what I love and subscribe to with authenticity. It is, I don't need to what I know. I don't want anyone to think that we're gurus either.
No.
Gotta trust yourself that what's important to you is going to show up for you, and you're sovereign to that. Don't listen to any doctor or nurse or anyone who is seen as authority unless you believe that that's going to be in alignment with what you're wanting to achieve.
Yeah, right. Because I think a lot of people kind of get railroaded in a sense.
Oh yeah.
You know, oh, your blood pressure up, here's this pill. Oh, you could need this, have this, medication.
Yeah.
And I won't go off on a tangent about what I think about Big Pharma because you just won't go there. But totally, and I think because that to me also is part of the disconnect of not acknowledging the person's mental and emotional state. They're actually just addressing largely the symptoms.
Yeah.
Only the symptoms, as and so sometimes the person with that still in their head going, oh my God, I've been told I've got this condition and I don't know how that's going to affect the rest of my life, or what is that going to happen with me? All of those things up there, not really taking in. It's like, oh, they're giving me a pill, okay.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Is that going to fix everything? And then, you can kind of set yourself up for disappointment when that pill doesn't fix everything. And then it's like, well, now what do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mum just went back to hospital, so she had that stroke. And it came down to the medications they gave her on discharge there was too much, had lots of side effects that, because she doesn't know, but there's like a whole list of side effects when you take any type of medication. And
the interactions with each other.
The interactions, there was like, I don't know, about 7 tablets, and that's a lot going from none.
Yes. And the timing can be really important of when you take them. I've had that with my mum, and even things just like, mixing different vitamins together. Don't necessarily assume that you can just take them all at once and your stomach is going to cope with that. All of those things as well. Yeah,
so she went in. It was very scary, I would say, for me. Because I didn't know what was going on. I don't have like a scanner on her body to see. And she hadn't told me for a couple of days. So, you have to, sovereignty, you have to be self-sovereign.
Question,
everything.
Curious.
Everything. You go straight to the source. Ask the middleman. I would ask from the person I know that's going to give me the answers, that has an understanding of or a level of knowledge that could ask me questions.
And I guess especially with the Western medicine style, don't be afraid to get a second opinion. In fact, encourage it. Yeah, absolutely. Someone that
just with anything.
Just someone that until you find someone that you actually feel you can have a direct, open conversation with.
Yeah, that doesn't
sort of try and steer you in a particular path or avoid.
Yeah, that's really important. As a health practitioner on the other end, and as an advocate for people's their own sovereignty, I suppose it's really important that you have a doctor or a GP or someone who takes care of you that listens to you, that hears you, and cares about like you in some way. I mean, they're not your best friends, but it shows that empathy or has that ability to empathise physically. If they do that, then they're able to understand when you go to them and have questions and your concerns. That's really important. If they're not, it could just be that having a bad day, but if it's over time, like you revisit over a period of time, then that's get another doctor, get another coach, get another whatever it is, you fill in the gap. But it's not only in the health industry; it could be your mental, your mindset, if you're a business partner, any area. If they're not going to run it, just do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Due diligence.
Yeah, I think that comes on the back of the get a second, third, or fourth opinion and questioning, and worst, not so much worst case, but like if you don't have someone to advocate for you, at least start by researching what meds they're wanting you to take. Those sort of treatment options. I mean, I guess for some people that's scary. For me, I like to know that sort of stuff. I like to be mainly because then if I have some idea of what a procedure is going to involve and how it's supposed to, go, what that intended outcome is for, then it can sort of highlight particular areas that I might need to ask more questions about, in terms of relation to, say, my mother's particular set of circumstances and states in her body and whatnot that I know she goes through, and if they're trying to say, oh, well, we do this, and I'm like, well, that's not going to work with, how is that going to work with, this other condition she's got that she deals with, and have you considered, sometimes it's like even as simple as going, okay, so you've prescribed tablets and she has a very poor swallow function. Is there a liquid option?
Like simple
things
that
make a huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not to say you don't have to do due diligence on alternative therapies as well.
Do your research.
It's whatever approach or whatever option you're looking at, you need to, can't, I don't think blind belief or blind faith is really going to serve you, because you're actually giving away your power to that person, aren't you?
Yeah.
And you actually want to be, I think more, when you're going through something so it can be as serious as health issues can be, you totally need to be standing in your power as much as you can for those.
Yeah, absolutely. It's imperative. It's the difference between I don't want to be dramatic. I was going to say it's the difference between survival and thriving, but it is.
Yeah.
Like it is.
And I think also, it's also being open to asking for help, and support, and not just in the physical sense, but, with your mental health tied up in it, and, dare I use the word, your spiritual self. Because for me, that all ties into our mind, body, soul connection. And, there are, what's that line from Shakespeare? There are more things in heaven and earth. I mean, there's other aspects in the world, shall we say, that can impact on our physical and mental health than just, what's written about in medical textbooks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so true. There's over 32,000 trillion cells in the body. Every second, those neurons, those neurotransmitters are firing. Boom, 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 boom. And it's what you are focusing on. Because when we look at the physical aspect of the body and the brain, if the brain just pulled the brain out, it would just be a brain. it's a physical aspect, but it will die. Your mind, though, is connected to the multi-dimensions. It's the part that keeps living when your body goes into the ground. And that's the part that I guess is starting to come into this mind-body connection theory, and noticing that. But they don't ever get that. In my small experience, and me working in the field for over 27 years, that's not mentioned when you come into hospital. So that's not to
not
say
outside
that
of
that's a bad thing.
not outside of sort of a potential religious aspect.
Yeah. Oh, well, an emergency, because I worked in emergency. So there could happen on wards. And why I share that is because it's not through any fault of any hospital or any emergency department. You have to advocate for yourself. So that means you take responsibility for yourself. And that means that at some point you would have to do your own due diligence. Due diligence. Sorry, due diligence. And find that out for yourself, because if you don't, then no one else is going to come and save you. Sadly, no one's going to rescue you until you do that for yourself. Or at least that was my experience. That's what I found, because I knew all that side, so I had to be a complete advocate for me. My 7-year-old daughter. Yeah. So I couldn't speak right then.
Yeah.
We're hungry.
Didn't notice a thing. We're all good. So. We can edit that out. It's fine.
Yay! Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind. But yeah, so when it relates to being I was also going to share with when it comes to the mind-body connection, what we feed our mind and what we allow in our mind, and the 6 to 12,000 thoughts that we have in one day, if that 90% of those are negative, then our neurons, our neurotransmitters, the neural pathways that are already firing, they're going to be reconditioned to that way of being, and also the energy that it takes to have negative thoughts and to go down the pathway of all of the negative outcomes that can happen. It's just so
draining.
So draining.
Yeah.
Literally draining. That's going to impact your body and your health, and your ability to heal. So I only share that because I had to just do a lot of different things, like cold showers, cold baths for about 2 years, a year or 2 years. And then I stopped like maybe, stopped because I noticed when we went to Mount Timberlake,
it felt cold?
It was amazing. I was like, what? My body didn't recognise that cold temperature. So I was like, okay, I need to start doing that. And then you get in an ice bath the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Charles.
Consider the third time, because that's how I was crazy I was going with it. That's another podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
definitely as part of our self-care and / filling our cups kind of our topic. Yeah.
Although I questioned it that day.
What's filling my cup?
No, it was lovely. It was refreshing, actually. Revitalised my nervous system. So thank you. I think we. Yeah,
I think so. Probably a good point good place to leave it and then pick up.
Yeah, awesome. So I'd like to acknowledge the Dementia Month. As I was saying,
she means September.
September, and also cancer. my nana, she had Alzheimer's. It's really sad because it's not like they die and they go away. They, yeah, the connection, I guess, to the person they used to be before dementia, before Alzheimer's, and then them with the disease can be quite sad because they don't remember you. They, you know, like that relationship has kind of gone. It's like a grief process that happens, and it can go for 10 years, 15 years. So acknowledge that for the people who have someone in that, and acknowledge you, and then cancer as well. So I think we could, close that. I hope you love yourself enough to give yourself the gift of health and Hau Ora, that you are always in some way, shape or form focusing on, and I know there's lots of stress out there, we know this, we know that there's a lot going on in Australia and the world, and that doesn't minimise what we're saying, your experience, your current physical reality that you're living in. But I would like to encourage you to just find ways to feed your mind so that you can recreate or heal or get into the creative mind and produce something that is important to you, be it a poem, like, I don't know, whatever. Music, karaoke, I was doing that before it arrived. So I was Mariah Carey. But something to dance, salsa dancing, salsa music, anything. Like,
just something that connects you to that feeling of joy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we encourage that. And any last words from you? No. Awesome. Well, have a wonderful week, everybody. We're grateful to bring you episode 3. This has been a wonderful topic for us. And if you've got any questions, anything that you would like to bring up, any concerns, anything, just feel free to comment down below and we'll get back to your comment. We would love to connect with you. Take care, everybody. Take care of yourselves and be unstoppable
and sovereign.
Awesome.
Ka kite.
Ka kite.